Blog Talk Radio.
Something's gone wrong. For all our vigilance and battle scars over the Bill of Rights, have we let the flame of freedom's torch grow cold? Because there can be no torch to pass where there's no flame.
Freedom has only one enemy it cannot defeat, and that is negligence. So your presence here, now, today, is an act of reverence. Of all man's works beneath the heavens, none shines brighter than our Constitution. I think Jefferson and Paine, Adams, Madison, Mason, Franklin, I think they're looking down right now at us. I think they understand what we're trying to do, what we strive to do. Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard.
Good evening, everybody. This is Joe Joseph. Tonight I'm joined by my co-hosts, as usual, John King and A.C. Griffith. And we've got a couple of hours of good radio for you this evening. One thing I want to talk about before we get started is the Intel Hub News Network, as you can see, we're undergoing some changes. And one of those changes, if you guys don't like the audio as it stands right now, at the top of the chat page here, you can actually go, it'll say listen live, enter streaming 24/7, and that's a 64K audio stream. So what you can do is click on that and then minimize it. You could still be in the chat room here. However, it'll give you a much clearer audio. And by doing that, too, you'll also support us in the transition over to our new server. And that's in progress right now, folks. But, without further ado, let me bring on Griff. Griff, can you hear me, buddy?
Yes, I can, Joe.
Man, that's spectacular. Always clear as a bell, let me tell you. And John, are you there, buddy?
I'm here, my friend. How are you doing today, Griff?
I'm doing fine, John.
Good.
So here we are. It's day 3 since the infamous tipping point has begun. And thank goodness we're all still here. For sure. Griff, what do you make of it all?
It's a great adventure we're on, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else aside, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And times are going to get more exciting and adventurous, and coming into the rebuilding period, I wouldn't miss it for anything. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it is quite it's quite a roller coaster ride, that much I'll tell you. Now, it's funny, we've been hearing a lot about the tipping point. I've been doing a lot of research into the time wave zero, and time wave zero pretty much, for the most part, it mimics what the WebBot, its timeline shows. And I've been seeing a lot of mainstream coverage about the economic turmoil that's going on. I can't tell for a certainty the severity or where it all lead. I mean, I know if I use my head that where it's going to lead. However, I don't know. I don't have any clear indication or anything to tell anybody, collapse is imminent. I don't know that. But I want to go over some of these articles today, Griff, that I saw that I find kind of troubling and kind of an indicator of maybe where this tipping point could be leading. And the first thing that I saw, there's two ways. I can look at it economically, and then I can look at it with confrontation and war. And the first two things is there was a AFP, American Free Press, and that was out of Halifax, Canada, where Senator Lindsey Graham stated that the United States faces a possible war with Iran to curb its nuclear ambitions and a period of confrontation with China over its currency. Graham stated that they would support bold action to deal with Iran. He says if President Obama decides to be tough with Iran beyond sanctions, he thinks a lot of Republicans will support that because they don't want Iran developing a nuclear weapon. And he, I think he went on to describe it as, quote, not just to neutralize their nuclear program, but to sink their navy, destroy their air force, and deliver a decisive blow to the Revolutionary Guards. In other words, neuter that regime, unquote. So you've got politicians, and everybody knows that Lindsey Graham is a well-established establishment politician. You've got that happening, and that's on the, let's just call it the right. And then on the left, we've got Mark Penn, who is a former Clinton and Democratic operative, and he's saying that Obama needs something akin to an OKC or Oklahoma City bombing to regain his popularity. And this is on Hardball with Chris Matthews. You know, so we see a lot. The mainstream is just pounding this away, pounding this away, pounding this away. So that's the conflict side of the house, you know. That's where we have conflict. That's where we have the threat of an increased threat in terrorism. That's where we have the war or saber rattling going on. Then on the opposite side, on the economic side, we see the Wall Street Journal coming out with an article saying the number of the week, 10.2 trillion in global borrowing for 2011. And basically they come back and say that next year the U.S. government will have to find $4.2 trillion just to repay maturing bonds and finance the budget deficits. That's to repay maturing bonds. That means debt that's already out there that they need to pay up on and finance the deficit. That's not what we already have in-house or coming in. That's what we have to finance, $4.2 trillion. So, you know, when you hear a budget deficit of, well, we're running a deficit of $1 trillion this year, it's really not, because they're not telling you what they have to pay back from bonds maturing. And then, of course, California, we all know how California stands. But California borrows $40 million a day to pay unemployment. $40 million a day it borrows just to pay unemployment. So if that doesn't give people yeah, sure, Griff, go ahead.
There are no dollars.
I know there's no dollars. But unfortunately...
Listen, it's all based on smoke and mirrors and lies and manipulations. And the people have been fed this stuff for so long, they believe it. And they will argue with you if you try to correct them.
Sure.
It's like fluoride in the water.
Hey, that's a sensitive topic to our audience there, Griff. You know, albeit I know that you have nice teeth. But
I
fluoride
do. I have all my teeth.
Yes, I know.
At 70 years old, I have all my teeth.
Every single one of them, huh?
Yes.
Now that's something else. That's a.
But you know, in your statement there, you posed a lot of questions, but it's all based on fraud. Every bit of it's based on fraud. Let's do the money again. We have new listeners, and the old listeners didn't get it in the first place. There is no dollar. It is a bogus measurement of something, and nobody knows what it is. When I say that nobody knows, I mean people in the Fed don't know, people in the government, in the Congress, all the politicians, all of the economists, they don't have a clue what it is. Now, you may find that hard to believe. I challenge you to take some of the questions that I put out and spend a week or a month asking. Ask at the bank, ask at the Fed, ask the politicians, and you will come away with a new impression of reality. War is good for economy. Economy is good for war. War and economy go together. Especially when you're in trouble, you start a war. And it's great for manufacturing. That's what happened to the United States after the Second World War. They went into the war and came out controlling the world. They deliberately bombed all of the manufacturing in the world. So we were the number one manufacturers after the war, and we dominated. And we dominated the currency with the dollar, and after the Bretton Woods Agreement to base the value of world currency on the dollar. We did that by whipping them and destroying their manufacturing and destroying economies all over the world. You know, we won it fair and square. What does that mean? I don't know. But you must understand what the dollar is, and debt. Debt is made out of smoke and mirrors. There is nothing beyond a piece of paper. There's nothing beyond the piece of paper that you think of as money. And it's not money. It's a note. It's a promissory note from a private company. And all the currencies in the world are essentially the same. They're not based on any value, precious metal, gold, silver, or anything else. They're just pieces of paper. Joe, how do you explain that? What is your observation of the United States dollar?
My observation of the United States dollar is simply, it's like you say, it's baseless. There's absolutely nothing to base it on. And it's very much akin to the money that you have when you play the game of life or Monopoly or anything like that. It's pretty much got the same, let's just say theoretical, or not even theoretical, just the value of it. It's akin to the same thing. Here's the problem. This is what happens. This is what happens when I raise this question to people. What does it matter? That's what they give me. What does it matter?
It matters a lot.
It doesn't. You know, we can't define what a dollar is. I can still go to Walmart and I can still buy a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a stick of butter, if you know what I mean. So I don't know how to adequately present the argument to people so that I can make them aware of it, but to where it actually changes the way they think about it, that's the thing. That's where it's going to be. You know what I mean?
I have an answer for that. Here's how important it is. We are about to lose millions and millions of people. We're going to turn those people into dead people, certainly in the United States and all over the world, because of this paper that we think of as money that has no value. That's nothing but a piece of paper from a private company. And it's a promissory note with no promise, and nobody knows what it is. We are going to kill millions of people. Now, when the dollar collapses and goes down to something approaching zero value, by their definition, by the Federal Reserve and the government's definition, by their definition, then medicines are not going to be available at the pharmacy. And you're going to see millions of people dying because they can't get their medicines that they depend on to keep their heart pumping. Life support systems all over the United States are going to go down. Your water systems are going to go down. There's no money to buy the chemistry to purify the water, no money to run the pumps to pump the water to your house, no way to flush the toilets, no way to pick up the garbage. A few more million people are going to die because of those two things. And you're going to see death and disease all over this country. You will not see clothes, life support goods coming into the country from China, Mexico, Canada, and European countries. They're not coming in because we have no way to buy them, no way to trade labor. So you're going to have more dead people. you're not going to be able to maintain your house.